At the airport, she looked me in the eyes and said, "I'm leaving you." I boarded that plane alone, only to discover months later she'd been with someone else the whole time. But when I finally saw them together, I realized she freed me to become stronger without her. I'm 34, and until a few months ago, I thought I was building a life with someone I loved. Her name was Emily, and we had been together for 3 years. We had our flaws, like every couple, but to me, things felt solid. We even talked about moving into a bigger place together. That day, we were supposed to fly to Boston. Nothing fancy, just a short trip we had planned. I was at gate C-17, holding 2 cups of coffee, when she turned to me and said something I'll never forget. "I'm leaving." At first, I thought she meant the flight. I even opened my mouth to say, "Yeah, boarding's about to start." But then she avoided my eyes. That's when I realized she didn't mean the plane. She meant me. I asked her what she was talking about. My voice was quiet because we were surrounded by people, but inside I felt like the ground had given way. Her answer was cold but steady. "I can't do this anymore. I don't want to go with you. I don't want us." It was like she had rehearsed those words. The airport felt like the worst possible place to do it, but also the safest for her. I couldn't argue, couldn't even think clearly with hundreds of strangers around. "You're breaking up with me here?" I asked. My voice cracked. People nearby glanced at us, then quickly looked away. "I'm sorry, but yes," she said. "This isn't working, Daniel." I thought it would. I wanted it to, but it doesn't. Just yesterday, we'd been looking at apartment listings together. And now, standing there with my hand burning from holding 2 cups of coffee, she was erasing everything we talked about. "Why here? Why now?" I asked. Her lips pressed tight. "Because if I didn't do it now, I'd never do it. I've been holding this in for months. You deserve the truth, even if it's ugly." That word, months, hit me hard. She'd been done with me for months, while I was still thinking about our future. I felt stupid, blindsided, and cornered. She had chosen the airport because she knew I couldn't make a scene. She controlled the whole situation. I looked at her one last time, searching for any hesitation, any reason to think she wasn't serious. But her eyes were steady, cold. So I set the coffees on the trash bin, grabbed my bag, and walked toward the gate. Each step felt heavier than the last. I didn't look back. I couldn't. That plane took off with me in one seat and an empty one beside me. And that's how the story of my breakup began. On the plane, I sat by the window and stared at nothing. People around me were flipping through magazines, listening to music, and eating pretzels. I was just there. My chest felt heavy, and my thoughts kept looping back to her words. She had said she'd been holding it in for months. Months. That meant while I was talking about where we might live next, she was already imagining life without me. That realization stung worse than the breakup itself. I kept replaying our last moments at the gate. I asked if she'd been pretending. She told me, "No, I cared about you, and I still do in a way, but not enough to build a life with you." That honesty was supposed to be comforting, I think. Instead, it cut like glass. She had already checked out emotionally long before she spoke up. The airport was just the stage she chose for her exit. When the plane landed, I collected my bag and walked out into Boston alone. We'd booked a hotel together. I went there by myself. The room hit me harder than the flight. Only my side of the bed looked used, the other half untouched. Her things weren't on the counter, and her suitcase wasn't by the closet. Just me and my thoughts in a space that was supposed to be ours. For the next few days, I went through the motions. Meetings, dinners, small talk. To anyone else, I probably looked fine. Inside, I felt like I was dragging around a weight no one could see. The nights were the worst. No goodnight texts. No sleep well. Just silence. I lay there scrolling through old messages, reading her words as if they belonged to someone else. I tried to make sense of it. How could she be laughing with me over takeout one day and breaking up the next? But the more I thought about it, the more the small things started adding up. The vague excuses, the sudden work trips, the way she always angled her phone away when she got a notification. I had chalked those things up to quirks or stress. Now they looked like clues I had been too blind to see. A week later, I flew home. I unlocked the apartment, dropped my bag by the door, and just stood there for a while. The place felt foreign, like it had been hollowed out. I didn't reach out to her. I didn't ask for closure. She had given me her version of the truth at the airport, and as cruel as it was final. Still, something in me knew there was more to the story. And I wasn't wrong. 2 weeks later, a message popped up on my phone. It was from a mutual friend at our gym. The text was short. "Hey, I don't know if I should say this, but Emily's been seen around town with someone. They've been close for a while, even before the airport thing." I read it twice. 3 times. My chest tightened, and the room seemed smaller. So she hadn't just left because it wasn't working. She had someone else waiting. And that's when everything about the breakup finally made sense. When I read that message from my friend, I just sat there on the couch staring at the screen. Emily hadn't just fallen out of love. She had been with someone else before she even walked me to gate C-17. The betrayal hit me differently. The breakup itself had been painful, but this was humiliating. I thought back to all the little things I'd ignored. The vague work trips. Her sudden excuses when I asked her to meet my family. The way she always seemed to keep her phone tilted away. I had chalked it up to quirks, stress, even privacy. Now, every piece fits together too neatly. And then it clicked. The airport breakup wasn't random at all. She chose that setting because she knew I couldn't make a scene there. With flights boarding and strangers everywhere, I had no chance to ask questions or press for answers. She wanted a clean, controlled exit before the truth leaked out. That realization made me angry, but not in the way I expected. I didn't want to scream at her or call her out. I wanted to take all that pain and do something else with it. So I made a choice. I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to beg for explanations. Instead, I was going to sit with the pain until it sharpened me. The first weeks weren't easy. Nights still felt empty. There were mornings I woke up and reached for my phone, expecting a good morning that never came. But slowly, I began to fill the silence with other things. I started spending more time with friends I hadn't seen in a while. Dinners, walks, long talks about anything but relationships. I picked up hobbies I had left behind. I stayed later at gatherings, laughed more than I thought I could. It wasn't some magical overnight healing. But the anger stopped being a weight and started feeling like fuel. And then, 3 months later, life gave me a twist I wasn't ready for. I was at a conference in New York, standing at the front of a room, speaking to an audience. I had spent weeks preparing for it, and I was confident in what I was saying. Halfway through, I noticed someone in the crowd. Emily. She was sitting there, watching me. And she wasn't alone. Next to her was the man I had been warned about, his hand resting casually on her knee, like it belonged there. For a second, my chest tightened. Seeing them together in person was like reopening an old wound. But then something happened that surprised me. I didn't break. I didn't lose focus. If anything, I spoke clearly, strongly. I finished that talk with more confidence than I've ever had. The applause felt different this time, not just because of the speech, but because I knew she had seen it. She had seen me stand tall when she expected me to crumble. And in that moment, I realized she no longer had control over my story. When my talk ended, the room filled with chatter. People came up to shake my hand, ask questions, and trade contacts. I focused on them, answering thoughtfully, even smiling. But I could feel her eyes on me the whole time. Emily. I hadn't seen her since the airport. 3 months of silence. And now here she was, sitting in my audience with the guy she left me for. His hand had been on her knee the whole time, like he wanted everyone to know she was his. At first, I thought the sight of them together would crush me. And yes, it hurt, but only for a moment. The old anger rose, but it didn't consume me this time. I didn't stumble. I didn't falter. Instead, I delivered one of the best presentations of my life. Every word felt solid, every point landed. That in itself was a turning point. I realized right then that she had no power over me. The woman who broke me at gate C-17, who thought she ended my story, was now just another face in the crowd. And honestly, she looked smaller than I remembered, not physically, but in the way her presence no longer carried weight in my life. As people left the room, I caught glimpses of her. She was quieter than before, almost uncertain. Her partner stood beside her, talking with someone else, but she kept her focus on me. I didn't approach her. I didn't need to. I gathered my notes, put them in my bag, and prepared to leave. But I had the sense she wouldn't let me walk out without saying something. And I was right. As the last few people trickled out, she made her move. Slowly, carefully, as if she was stepping into a place she no longer belonged. Daniel, she said. Her voice was softer than I remembered. You did really well up there. I'm glad you're doing okay. For a split second, I just looked at her. 3 years together, countless memories, all the plans we made. And now, all she had to offer me was a polite compliment. I felt no urge to argue. No urge to ask her why. The woman in front of me wasn't the person I once loved. She was just someone who had made her choice and now had to live with it. And in that moment, I understood something I hadn't before. She didn't break me. She freed me. Emily stood there, waiting for me to say something. For a second, it felt almost like old times, the way she used to look at me when she wanted reassurance. But this wasn't the same. I nodded once and answered, I am doing okay. Better than okay, actually. Her face shifted. Just a flicker, but I caught it. Maybe regret, maybe surprise. I didn't dig into it. I didn't ask what she meant by showing up or why she thought I needed her approval now. That part of my life was done. I gave her a small, polite smile. The kind you give an acquaintance you'll probably never see again. Then I said, take care, and walked out of the room. I didn't look back. Not at her. Not at the man waiting behind her. For once, I wasn't leaving with questions, pain, or doubt. I was leaving with clarity. Outside, the city felt alive. The noise of traffic, people rushing past, the hum of it all. It reminded me that life moves forward whether you're ready or not. She had left me at an airport, thinking she'd ended something. But in truth, she had given me the space to start over. Weeks later, sitting at home, I thought about how different things had become. The silence that once felt unbearable now felt like freedom. I had new routines, new connections, and for the first time in years, I was making plans for myself, not for us. Looking back, the breakup that once felt like devastation had turned into clarity. I don't wish it on anyone, but I can say this. Sometimes when someone says, "I'm leaving you," they think they're breaking you. What they're really doing is handing you the chance to rise without them. And that's exactly what I did. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.